This is going to be a story about the Lynch brothers. There were 3 of them, and if you didn't like one, try another, because the Lynch brother others found too sour or too sweet might be just to your taste. The Lynch brothers, the orphans Lynch. All of them had been made by dreams one way or another. They were handsome devils, down to the last one. They looked after themselves. Their mother, Aurora, had died the way some dreams did, gruesomely, blamelessly, unexpectedly. Their father, Niall, had been killed or murdered, depending on how human you considered him. Were there other Lynches? It seemed unlikely. Lynches appeared to be very good at dying. Dreams are not the safest thing to build a life on. Because the Lynch brothers had been in danger for so much of their lives, they'd each developed methods of mitigating threats. Declan, the eldest, courted safety by being as dull as possible. He was very good at it. In all things, school, extracurriculars, dating, he invariably chose the dullest option. He had a real gift for it. Some forms of boring suggest that the wearer, deep down inside, might actually be a person of whimsy and nuance, but Declan made certain to practice a form of boring that suggested that deep down inside there was an even more boring version of himself. Declan was not invisible, because invisible had its own charm, its own mystery. He was simply dull. Technically, he was a college student, a political intern, a 21-year-old with his whole life ahead of him, but it was hard to remember that. It was hard to remember him at all. Matthew, the youngest, floated in safety by being as kind as possible. He was sweet-humored, pliable, and gentle. He liked things, and not in an ironic way. He laughed at puns. He swore like a greeting card. He looked kindly, too, growing from a cherubic, golden-haired child to an Adonic, golden-haired 17-year-old. All of this treacly, tousled goodness might have been insufferable had not Matthew also been an excruciatingly messy eater, a decidedly lazy student, and not very bright. Everyone wanted to hug Matthew Lynch, and he wanted to let them. Ronan, the middle brother, defended his safety by being as frightening as possible. Like the other Lynch brothers, he was a regular churchgoer, but most people assumed he played for the other team. He dressed in funeral black and had a raven as a pet. He shaved his hair close to his skull, and his back was inked with a claw and toothed tattoo. He wore an acidic expression and said little. What words he did unsheath turned out to be knives, glinting and edged and unpleasant to have stuck into you. He had blue eyes. People generally think blue eyes are pretty, but his were not. They were not cornflower, sky, baby, indigo, azure. His were iceberg, squall, hypothermia, eventual death. Everything about him suggested he might take your wallet or drop your baby. He was proud of the family name, and it suited him. His mouth was always shaped like he'd just finished saying it. The Lynch brothers had many secrets. Declan was a collector of beautiful, specific phrases that he would not let himself use in public, and the possessor of an illuminated, specific smile no one would ever see. Matthew had a forged birth certificate and no fingerprints. Sometimes, if he let his mind wander, he found himself walking in a perfectly straight line. Toward something? Away from something? This was a secret even to himself. Ronan had the most dangerous of the secrets. Like many significant secrets, it was passed down through the family, in this case from father to son. This was the good and bad of Ronan Lynch. The good was that sometimes, when he fell asleep and dreamt, he woke with that dream. The bad was that sometimes, when he fell asleep and dreamt, he woke with that dream. Monsters and machines, weather and wishes, fears and forests. Dreams are not the safest thing to build a life on. After their parents died, the Lynch brothers kept their heads down. Declan removed himself from the business of dreams and went to school for the dullest possible degree in political science. Ronan kept his nightmare games confined to the family farm in rural Virginia as best he could. And Matthew? Well, Matthew only had to keep on making sure he didn't accidentally walk away. Declan grew more boring and Ronan grew more bored. Matthew tried not to let his feet take him someplace he didn't understand. They all wanted more. One of them had to break, eventually. Niall had been a wild Belfast dreamer with fire biting at his heels, and Aurora had been a golden dream with the borderless sky reflected in her eyes. Their sons were built for chaos. It was a sharp October, a wild October, one of those fretful spans of time that climbs into your skin and flits around. It was 2 months after the fall semester had begun. The trees were all brittle and grasping. The drying leaves were skittish. Winter yowled around the doorways at night until wood fires drove it away for another few hours. There was something else afoot that October, something else stretching and straining and panting, but it was mostly as of yet unseen. Later, it would have a name, but for now, it simply agitated everything uncanny it touched, and the Lynch brothers were no exception. Declan broke first. While the youngest brother was in school and the middle brother malingered at the family farm, Declan opened a drawer in his bedroom and removed a piece of paper with a telephone number on it. His heart beat faster just to look at it. He should have destroyed it, but instead he entered it into his phone. "The Lynch boy?" said the voice on the other side of the line. "Yes," he said simply. "I want the key." Then he hung up. He told no one else about the call, not even his brothers. What was one more tiny secret, he thought, in a life full of them? Boredom and secrets, an explosive combination. Something was going to burn.